Hi, this is Megan from Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to choose the correct needle for your beadwork project. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of overview of the most common types of needles and which ones you'd want to use for which project. The most common one I use most is going to be just a regular standard English beading needle. So I have a size assortment that has 10s and 13s. And these are going to be what you use if you're doing bead weaving, or you're working with beads that have a small hole, or if you're working with a fine beading thread. So we have in here 2 10s and 2 13s. Needles are sized so that if you have a higher number, you have a thinner needle. So if you're going to work with something more delicate, you'll need the higher number, the 13, or a 12 maybe. And if you're using something that's got bigger holes, like a size 10 seed bead, as opposed to an 11, you might be able to work with the size 10 needle. Also, it's going to depend on the type of thread you're using. So Wildfire is going to be a little bit heavier than like a Fireline or a Nymo. So as you can see, the Wildfire fits just fine through the size 10. You can always run it between your finger and your thumbnail too. And you can fit Wildfire into a size 12 beading needle if you work at it too. So the English beading needles are going to give you a very slim profile to fit through your smaller holed beads, including a seed bead or even just like a check glass bead. It's going to fit right through there. And that's your standard English beading needle. Next, I'm going to talk about big eye needles. Big eye needles are probably the second most commonly used needle for me. If you do more stringing, they might be your most commonly used needle. And I have here another assortment. So I have some different lengths of big eye needle here. And the big eye needle is going to be really handy for use with a thicker string, so a thicker thread. So if you're going to use silk cord, if you're going to use a S-Lon nylon cord, and it's not going to fit through a regular needle, the big eye needles are perfect for that. You're going to just take your fingernails and pull the sides of the needle apart, put the tip of your thread in and pull it to the end, give it a little tug, and that's the easiest ones to thread. Very, very easy to thread. The big eye needle, you're going to need to have a slightly bigger hole on your beads. So I have here kind of a medium-sized hole bead, and it will fit through that. And a larger hole bead will be a breeze, but you're not going to be able to put this through a small hole bead. So if you're doing stringing with beads that have a hole that's probably you won't need it to be over 1 millimeter. Depends on what you're using with it. If you're using a really thin thread with it, you could still use it on a smaller hole bead. But usually the advantage of using the big eye is that it allows you to thread onto a slightly thicker cord. Another type of needle that we offer is the flexible twisted wire needles. These again are going to be for beads that have a slightly larger hole. And these ones are interesting. They're really flexible. They're kind of hard to see, I know, if I put it on that dark background. They're just twisted wire with a loop at one end. They're not particularly sharp or pointy. They're just to pull through. And the loop, since it's flexible, will actually contract a little. So if you're going to put it through a large hole bead, let me get it threaded, then you'll go through that no problem with these. It just pulls right through. On a bead with a slightly smaller hole, it will contract and it will close the loop a little bit, and it will also pull through. So this is going to be another alternative. This is really handy if you need to be able to have your needle flex a lot, to get through a curved opening, something like that, if you need it to be able to move a lot while you're stringing. And the one other option I want to talk about is gum Arabic beading glue, and this is what you would use if you want to create a thread needle, which if you want to not use a needle and you just want to stiffen your thread, and the really big advantage to that is that you don't have to double the thickness of your thread. On all these other options, you end up having to pull a folded piece with two ends through. With the gum Arabic glue, you're going to just end up with one. So it's basically just going to stiffen the tip of your string and make it hard enough to go through on its own. So just dip the end in. I like to wipe off the excess. You'll need to wash your hands. Let it dry for a couple of minutes, and that will get nice and stiff, and you can just thread onto your stringing material. And the one other thing I was going to mention is that read the description for the products that you're buying, because a select number of products do actually come with a needle, such as Griffin silk. So when you pull out the Griffin silk, at the top of the card, there is actually a needle on here. And what's on here is pretty much a twisted wire needle. So it's going to be kind of bent up, but it totally works, and it's on there. It's actually connected to your silk cord, and you can use that to do your stringing just like you would one of the twisted wire or the big eye needles. So keep that in mind and check it out, because some of your products might actually come with a needle on them, and then you don't have to pick one. That is kind of an overview for the needle options for jewelry making and how you choose which to use.